Hello and welcome everyone. So in this video I would like to discuss about basic principles of governing and audit as per auditing standard 200. Okay, so let's get started. Basic principles of governing and audit. As per auditing standard 200, in short you can say SA 200, issued by ICAI, Institute of Chartered Accountant of India. Auditing Standard 200, governing and audit. Basic principles of governing and audit. So what are the basic principles of governing and audit? There are 9 points, 9 important points of governing and audit. 9 points. So then first one is integrity, objectivity and independence. नाम से ही पता चल जाता है कि how much essential this point, that integrity, objectivity and independence means the auditor should be straightforward, honest, sincere and free from any influence on his audit work. He should maintain impartiality and be free of any interest. He must maintain impartiality and does not be any one side and be free of any interest. Okay, so the first and most important point of governing an audit is integrity, objectivity and independence. Clear? Next important point is very important point, that confidentiality. Confidentiality means what? Confidentiality means auditors should not share the client information to anybody without the client's permission or under any regulatory requirement. That is called confidentiality. Auditors should maintain confidential and does not share the client information to anybody at any cost. So next important point of governing an audit is skills and competence. Skills and competence means the auditor should be made an audit report which is made by adequately trained, experienced and competent person. So skills and competence is most essential point of basic principles of governing an audit, because without competent and skilled, trained, experienced, competent person, it is impossible to make a audit. So this point is very essential. Skills and competence. Auditor must be skilled and experienced person. Okay, so next important point is work performed by others. work performed by others means the auditor should carefully supervise the work performed by others, such as his subordinates, other auditor, expert, etc., as remains responsible for the work delegated by him to his assistant, other auditor, or expert. Work performed by others should be checked by principal auditor, careful and also careful supervise. So, work performed by others also most important point of governing an audit. Then number 5, documentation. Documentation means what? Working papers should be maintained by the auditor to evidence the audit work. Working paper which is maintained is to be demonstrate that the audit is in adherence to the basic principles. It must be adherence to audit principle. Okay, so documentation is most important. Then planning means the auditor should obtain the knowledge about assessee business to to know the nature, timing, and the extent of the audit procedures. So to make a good planning, the auditor should obtain the knowledge about assesses business so that he can measure the timing and extent of the audit procedures. So planning is most important part of governing an audit. Then number 7, audit evidence. Audit evidence. What are the audit evidence? The auditor should obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence through making the compliance and substantive procedures. Compliance and substantive procedures. The auditor should obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence through performing the compliance and substantive procedures. Then next important point is accounting system and internal control. System and internal control. Accounting system and internal control. An understanding of the accounting system and the related internal control help in determining the nature, timing, and extent of the other audit procedures. So accounting system and internal control play significant role in governing an audit. An understanding of the accounting system and a related internal control helps in determining the nature, timing, and extent of other audit procedures. So number 8 also very important. Then last and most important, audit conclusion and reporting. Audit conclusions and reporting. Audit conclusions and reporting means on the basis of conclusion drawn from the audit evidence obtained, the auditor should give unqualified report or qualified report or adverse report or the disclaimer report. Audit report, as we know that audit report is the end product of audit work, which is called final final audit report. Okay, it may be qualified, audit report, may be unqualified, okay, it may be adverse report. Adverse report means negative report, okay, or it may be disclaimer report. Disclaimer report. Disclaimer means unable to form an overall opinion on the financial statement. So this is it all about basic principles of governing an audit. There are 9 important points as per Auditing Standard 200, which is issued by ICAI, Institute of Chartered Accountant of India. Basic principles of governing an audit. There are 9 points. First point is integrity, objectivity, and independence. Then confidentiality. Confidentiality. First one is integrity, objectivity, and independence. Integrity होना चाहिए, objectivity होना चाहिए, and independence होना चाहिए. Governing an audit. Then confidentiality. It must be confidential and not shared to any others. Then it must be skill and competence. Means skill and competent. Trained and competent also. Competent. Okay. Then work performed by others. You must be judge and supervise the work made by others, expert or auditors. Then number 5, documentation. Documentation means working papers. Working papers should be adherence to audit principles. Working papers should be adherence to audit principles. Next is planning. Planning means the auditor should obtain the knowledge about assesses business or businessman's business to determine the nature, timing, and the extent of the audit procedures. So planning is important to determine the nature, timing, and audit procedure. Okay. Next, audit evidence. Audit evidence means the auditor should obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence through performing the compliance and substantive procedures. Okay, so next important point, accounting system and internal control means an understanding of the accounting system and the related internal control and substantive procedures. An understanding of the accounting system and the related internal control help in determining the nature, timing, and extent of the other audit procedures. And last and most important, audit conclusion and reporting, which is called final audit report. Means on the basis of conclusion drawn from the audit evidence obtained, the auditor should give unqualified report, qualified report, adverse or negative report, or disclaimer report. So this is all about basic principles of governing an audit. You just need to remember all the important point and revise as much as possible. Thank you so much for watching.